The unexpected visitor's morning sky over Washington, D.C. was gray and heavy with clouds, like it was holding its breath. Inside the high-security gates of the Secret Service headquarters, everything moved with quiet precision. Agents passed one another without smiles. Computers buzzed behind armored doors. This place wasn't built for surprises, but that day everything changed. It started with a knock, not a coded press of a security panel, not a badge swipe. Just a soft, unexpected knock on the front glass. A young receptionist looked up from her desk and frowned. She glanced at the monitor. The cameras showed a man outside, standing still, not moving, not aggressive. He wore jeans, a black jacket, and had a calm face that somehow looked both tired and kind. Sir? She buzzed the intercom. This is restricted. Do you have clearance? The man leaned forward just a little. I'm not here on official business, he said. I just need to speak to someone, anyone. She narrowed her eyes. Something about his voice was familiar. What's your name? He smiled slightly. Keanu. Keanu Reeves. The room went still. The receptionist blinked. Wait. The actor? Agents near her desk looked up. Someone's playing a joke, one of them muttered. But when security checked the cameras, the man outside matched dozens of photos from the internet. It really was Keanu Reeves, standing alone at the gates of one of the most secure places in America. Within minutes, a senior agent walked down the hallway. He was tall, serious, and didn't waste words. Bring him in. Scan him. Check everything. If this is some kind of publicity stunt, we shut it down. Two guards opened the gate and let Keanu inside. He didn't resist, didn't act like a celebrity, just nodded and followed their instructions. No phone, no bag, no sunglasses, only the clothes on his back and something small in his pocket. The skin showed nothing dangerous. He sat in the waiting area, quiet and respectful, while agents whispered behind walls. Finally, Agent Carter, the man in charge, entered the room. He crossed his arms. Mr. Reeves, care to tell me why you're here? Keanu stood up, hands relaxed. I need help. Not for me. For someone else. Carter frowned. This isn't the police. This is federal protection. I know, Keanu said, but she's not just anyone. Carter's voice sharpened. Who is she? Keanu looked him straight in the eye. Her name is Isla. She's 12. She's in danger, and nobody believes her. Agent Carter paused. And who is she to you? Keanu hesitated. I don't know, not exactly. I just met her yesterday. Agents around the room raised their eyebrows. Carter folded his arms. You came here without an appointment, without proof, because of something a girl you just met said? Keanu nodded. I did. Carter stared at him for a long moment, then said, Start from the beginning. Keanu took a deep breath and began to tell a story that didn't sound real. Not at first. He said it started at a bookshop, a small, dusty place he liked to visit when he wasn't filming. The owner knew him and always saved the old science fiction novels he liked. Yesterday afternoon, while he was browsing the back shelf, a girl had walked in. Small, thin, wearing a backpack too heavy for her frame. She looked scared, not lost, just hunted. She bumped into him by accident. Sorry, she whispered, then looked up. Her eyes were wide. You're Keanu Reeves, she said. He smiled. Kindly. You like movies? Not really, she said. But I know your face. He laughed. Fair enough. Then she asked something strange. Do you believe people can disappear and nobody notices? Keanu felt something shift in his chest. He sat down at the little coffee corner in the shop and invited her to sit too. They talked for almost an hour. She told him about a school she used to attend, a place she believed was watching her. She said people came to visit and never returned, that her own father had vanished after trying to file a report. They said he left us, she said. But I know he didn't. Keanu had heard wild stories before. But there was something in the way she spoke, not dramatic, not begging, just tired, like someone who'd run out of people to trust. He gave her his number. If you ever feel unsafe, he told her, call me, anytime. She smiled weakly. They don't like when I talk. They'll know. And then she left. Later that night, his phone rang. A single whisper. They're outside. Please help me. Then, Silence. The line went dead. Keanu had driven to the edge of the city where she said she stayed. But the house was dark. No lights, no car, no noise, just the feeling that someone had been watching. He went to the police. They said there was no missing person report. They said the address was clean. They said to go home. So he didn't go home. He came here. To the one place that was supposed to protect the unprotected. Agent Carter listened closely. He didn't interrupt. Not once. When Keanu finished, the room stayed quiet until one of the junior agents leaned over and whispered something in Carter's ear. Carter's eyes widened just slightly. He turned to Keanu. "Come with me." "Why?" Keanu asked. Carter's voice was serious now. "Because something just came up on our internal alert system. A name." "Whose name?" Carter looked straight at him. "The girl, Isla. She triggered a restricted file last year. We're not supposed to access it without level 6 clearance." Keanu frowned. "But what kind of file?" Carter turned to the screen on the wall. He typed in a code. It blinked twice. "Access denied." "We need someone higher than me," he said. Keanu's single quotes S voice was quiet. "So what happens now?" Carter glanced at him. "Now," he said, "we find out if you just stumbled into something much bigger than a missing child." As the lights flickered and the screen reset, no one noticed the silent camera in the corner of the room, transmitting to somewhere far, far away. Someone was already watching, and they weren't happy. *Red file protocol. Agent Carter led Keanu down a long hallway, away from the main operations floor. Everything was colder here. Thicker walls, fewer windows, more cameras. The silence was heavier, almost like the building itself was holding secrets too deep to say out loud. Keanu walked quietly, his boots echoing gently on the tile. He wasn't afraid, but he knew something had shifted the moment Isla's name triggered a red file. This had stopped being a rescue mission. It had become something else entirely. Carter tapped his badge against a reinforced door. It slid open slowly. Inside was a dark room with a large screen, 2 chairs, and a steel cabinet with 7 locks. Keanu noticed a symbol etched into the wall, a circle with a line through it. Not military, not government, something different. Carter sat inside. "I've only seen this room used twice in my whole career." Keanu stayed standing. "This isn't just about her, is it?" he asked quietly. Carter looked up. "Not anymore." He typed a string of numbers and placed his palm on a scanner. The screen lit up. Lines of red text scrolled fast. Then one name flashed in the middle. Project Isla, restricted clearance, anomaly classification, Omega. Keanu narrowed his eyes. Omega. Carter frowned. "It's a term we use for things that don't fit anywhere else. Not national threat, not domestic, just unexplainable." The file opened with a single sentence. Subject, Isla Dawson, age 12, witnessed unauthorized event. Memory scrambled. Under it was a blurred photo of a little girl. Keanu recognized her instantly. It was her. The same eyes, the same quiet. Sadness, unauthorized event. Keanu repeated. Carter shook his head. "No idea what it means. But it says her father worked in this building. Dr. James Dawson, classified systems researcher, went missing 15 months ago." Keanu's stomach dropped. She said they said he left, but she knew he didn't. The file says he tried to report something to higher command. The night before he disappeared, he requested emergency clearance to transmit a file. It never arrived. Next morning, he was gone. Keanu stared at the screen, and no one followed up. "They shut the report down," Carter said. "Marked it as resolved. Closed the case. No investigation. No press." Keanu clenched his fists. Because he saw something. Carter leaned back. Or maybe because she did. Outside the room, another junior agent rushed up. "Double quotes, sir," he said breathlessly. "We've got movement. A private agency is now scanning all hotel security footage in D.C. Someone's trying to track Mr. Reeves." Carter turned to Keanu. "Who did you tell?" "Nobody." Keanu said, "Just the police. And they didn't believe me." "Someone did," Carter muttered. "And they're watching you." He stood. "We need to find that girl before they do." Keanu followed him back to the briefing room, where other agents were now pulling surveillance footage, satellite images, and traffic records. Maria, one of the analysts, turned from her desk. Sir, I tracked a pattern. Someone used a burner phone near the bookstore the day Isla met Reeves. Same phone popped up near a hospital 2 hours later, then vanished. Was she at the hospital? Keanu asked. Maria nodded. A visitor. Signed in under the name Claire Dawson. Isla's mother. She's alive. Maria shrugged. Unclear. The hospital has no record of her leaving. Keanu stepped closer to the screen. Show me that footage. Maria brought up the hallway. Camera. The image was grainy, but clear enough to make out 2 figures. A woman holding Isla's hand. They walked down the corridor slowly. The girl looked up at her mother with worry. The woman looked over her shoulder, nervous. And then just before they turned the corner, someone stepped into frame. A tall man, in a gray coat. He walked behind them. Then, the footage glitched. Cut. Jump. Skipped 10 seconds. When it resumed, only Isla was standing there. Alone. Alone. Keanu's single quotes S voice went quiet. They erased her. Agent Carter stared at the screen. No, they covered something up. Keanu clenched his jaw. So they've already taken one parent. They'll come for her next. Just then, the building. Lights flickered. A loud alarm buzzed once, then stopped. Everyone froze. Maria looked at her monitor. Sir, we just got hit with a backdoor scan. Someone tried to access the red file remotely. From where? Carter asked. Outside the country, she said. Pinging from Northern Europe, but bouncing through so many relays it's impossible to trace. Keanu took a deep breath. They know we're looking. Carter turned to the team. Lock down the file. Get eyes on every major station. Pull travel logs. We need to find that girl now. Keanu turned to Maria. Check the bus terminals. 2. If she's scared, she might be trying to run. Maria nodded and pulled up security feeds. Meanwhile, Keanu stepped away from the chaos. He pulled the small item from his jacket, a folded piece of paper Isla had slipped into his hand at the bookstore. He had forgotten about it. He unfolded it slowly. Inside was a hand-drawn picture. A house with no windows, a tower with no doors, and a circle on the roof. Beneath it, the words, "They watch from above, but they don't see the small ones." Keanu stared at the page. Something about the drawing felt familiar. He walked back to Carter. Have you seen this symbol? Carter took one look and turned pale. He pointed at the drawing. That's not just a tower. That's section 12. What's that? Carter lowered his voice. It's an off-grid site. Not on maps. Not even on our files. They do deep storage, memory control, decommissioned programs. Keanu looked at the paper. You think she was there? Carter nodded slowly. I think she escaped. Keanu looked toward the windows. The sky had grown darker. Something bigger was happening. And if they didn't reach her in time, they might lose more than just a child. They might lose the truth. Asterisk the tower that doesn't exist. Next morning, before the sun had even risen, Keanu stood in the empty hallway of the Secret Service headquarters. The drawing Isla had given him still rested in his hand. It was simple, but powerful, a place without windows, without doors, with a strange circle on top. Section 12. Most people inside the building still whispered about that name. Some claimed it didn't exist. Others said it had been shut down. But Carter knew better. And now, so did Keanu. Agent Carter joined him quietly. He carried a tablet showing the latest surveillance data. We've got a hit, he said. She was spotted near a train yard in Virginia, an old freight depot. She was alone. Security cams caught her moving through the fence around AM. Did she meet anyone? Keanu asked. Carter shook his head. No one else on the feed. But the strange thing is, one camera picked up a flash of light right before she appeared. And after she passed, that same camera shut down. Keanu narrowed his eyes, like someone didn't want her seen. Or someone helped her get through without being tracked, Carter added. They moved into the war room, where Maria and the other agents had already pinned maps to the walls and pulled satellite images onto the monitors. All eyes were now focused on one goal: find Isla before someone else did. Maria walked up to Keanu and handed him a folder. We scanned the picture she gave you. Enhance the sketch. The shape of that tower. It matches a decommissioned Cold War structure in West Virginia. Fenced off, no signs, no listed owner. But we spotted movement on infrared. Keanu looked at the folder, then back at Maria. So Section 12 is real. Maria nodded. We think it's underground, and we think she's heading there. Carter spoke up. We're sending a covert team, but I need you to stay here. Keanu shook his head. No, I have to go. She trusts me. She might not come out if she sees anyone else. Carter hesitated. You're not trained for what's down there. Keanu stepped closer. Neither is she. But she's still facing it. Carter studied him for a long moment, then finally gave a quiet nod. You go in with Team Bravo, no weapons. You stick to my orders. Keanu agreed. Within the hour, a black SUV pulled up to a hidden service road deep in the forest. Tall pine trees surrounded everything, and the wind howled softly through the leaves. The air felt colder here, heavier. The team moved quickly. 5 agents in tactical gear, 1 unarmed actor, and Maria, who insisted on coming too. I've seen this kind of place, she said. My uncle worked on secret storage sites. Some of these places weren't meant to be found again. They reached a metal door hidden behind a false rock wall. Maria keyed in a sequence from the documents they found. The door clicked open with a low grinding sound. The tunnel inside was long, narrow, and damp. Old lights flickered every few feet. Keanu led the way, his eyes scanning the darkness. They passed a room filled with dusty monitors, another lined with broken beds. Finally, they reached a metal stairwell leading down into blackness. As they descended, something strange happened. The radios died. No signal. No sound. Nothing but footsteps and breathing. At the bottom, they found a room with thick glass panels. Inside stood something shocking. Drawings. Hundreds of them, all made by children. Crayons, pencils, charcoal, taped to the walls. All showed the same things: towers, dark-eyed men, symbols in circles. Maria whispered, this was never a lab. This was a containment zone. Keanu walked slowly past the drawings. Each one felt familiar. He paused at a sketch with a single word written over and over. They see us sleep. Maria found a journal on a metal desk. It was labeled, Subject, Isla Dawson, Memory Phase 3. She opened it carefully. She resists memory resets. Shows high recall of isolated events. Appears to draw images from other subjects before meeting them. Telepathic link suspected. Keanu frowned. Telepathic. Maria nodded slowly. They weren't trying to protect her. They were trying to study her. Just then, a small voice echoed from the hallway behind them. You found it. Keanu turned around fast. Isla stood there. Her hair was wet, her eyes tired. But she was alive. Isla, Keanu whispered, stepping forward. She didn't smile. You shouldn't have come, she said quietly. We're here to help, he replied. But she shook her head. They're coming back. Who? Maria asked. The Watchers, she said. They don't want me to leave. They don't want me to remember. Keanu knelt in front of her. What did they do to you? She pulled something from her pocket. A small, round device. It glowed faintly. They put this in my father's coat, she said, to track him, to erase him. But he gave it to me before they took him. Told me never to let them find it. Maria stepped forward. That's a quantum tag. It links to classified location servers. With this, we can prove everything. But suddenly, the lights overhead blinked twice. Then once more. The agents raised their weapons. Maria whispered. They know we're here. Keanu turned to Isla. We need to leave. Now. But Isla froze. Her voice barely a whisper. They already opened the door. Behind them, at the far end of the tunnel, a cold wind began to rise. And from the darkness, shapes began to move. Not machines. Not people. Something in between. Beneath the silenced wind in the tunnel wasn't normal. It didn't blow like air. It pressed like a heavy breath from something alive. The shapes in the shadows were slow, smooth, and silent. Too silent. Keanu stood in front of Isla, shielding her with his body. Maria stepped beside him, clutching the device the girl had given her. The agents raised their weapons, but Carter's voice came through on a brief burst of static. Do not engage. Repeat. Do not engage. They are not hostile unless threatened. But the agents didn't know what they were. Neither did Keanu. The figures were human-shaped, but moved without footsteps. They had no faces, no voices, just long, pale bodies that shimmered slightly. In the dim light, like reflections in water. Maria whispered, "Those aren't soldiers." Keanu didn't take his eyes off them. "Then what are they?" Isla stepped forward, surprising everyone. "They were like me, once." "What do you mean?" Maria asked, gently pulling her back. "The Watchers," Isla said. "They used to be people. They tried to help others, but they stayed too long. The resets made them forget who they were." She looked up at Keanu, eyes full of something deeper than fear, something like sorrow. "They were children, once, like me." Keanu's voice dropped. "This place was a lab for memory control." Maria nodded. "They turned subjects into shells." The Watchers stopped moving. One tilted its head, as if trying to remember. Keanu slowly lifted his hand, not to threaten, but to reach. To say, "I see you." One of them took a step closer. The agents shouted, "Fall back." But Keanu stood firm. "Don't. Just wait." The Watcher reached out, inches from Keanu's chest. Its hand trembled. For a moment, the glowing light of the device in Maria's hand pulsed brighter. The Watcher stopped moving. And then a flicker of human eyes. "Just for a second." Keanu whispered, "They're not gone." But just then, a piercing alarm echoed through the facility. Red lights lit up the walls. Steel shutters dropped from above with loud bangs. Something had triggered full lockdown. Maria looked at her tablet. "Someone breached the top floor. This is a forced reset. They're going to flood the tunnels with sleep gas." Keanu turned to Isla. "Can we get out another way?" She nodded fast. "The elevator? Down the south shaft. But it's only coded to respond to voice, my father's voice." Maria looked at the journal. "We recorded part of his final message." She tapped her calm device and played a soft audio clip. "This is Dr. James Dawson. If you're hearing this, you're in the place they never wanted to exist." Isla's face lit up. "That's enough." She ran ahead. Keanu and Maria followed. The Watchers parting to let them pass, still silent, still broken, but not attacking. They reached the elevator shaft, rusted, silent, with a single round button. Isla pressed it. Nothing happened. Maria handed her the device. "Try this." The girl placed it near the panel and whispered, "Dad said I'd be the key one day." A soft click. The door opened. Inside was a narrow space just large enough for Keanu. Maria, Isla, and one agent stepped inside. The doors closed. But as they did, Keanu looked back and saw one of the Watchers raise its hand, not in warning, but in farewell. It knew. It remembered. As the elevator rose, Keanu turned to Isla. "Where does this go?" She looked up to the roof, where the memory doesn't reach. When the doors opened, they found themselves not on a rooftop but in a small, dome-shaped room filled with screens. Unlike the cold metal below, this room was warm. Wooden walls, drawings, photos, personal things. "Someone had lived here. In the middle of the room sat a man in a chair. Still. Silent. Keanu stepped forward, but Isla ran. "Dad." The man turned. Slowly, his eyes were tired, his hair gray, but he was alive. "Isla," he whispered. She hugged him tightly. Maria whispered to Keanu, "He survived." But they kept him here, above it all, the only one who remembered too much. Dr. Dawson looked at them all. "You found her." "How?" Keanu smiled softly. "She found me." Dawson nodded. "The Watchers let you pass. They didn't stop." "U.S.," Maria said. "They remembered something." Dawson stood, slowly, his voice weak. "They were never monsters, just forgotten souls." He looked at the screen. On it was a list of every file in the facility, every name, every child. Maria pointed. "If we can upload this, we can expose what they did." But Dawson hesitated. "If you do that," he said, "they'll come for you. All of you." Keanu stepped beside him. "We're not leaving without the truth." Dawson sighed and pressed send. At that moment, a loud explosion shook the building. Maria checked her screen. "They've started the burn protocol. They're erasing the site." Keanu turned to Dawson. "Is there another way out?" He nodded. "There's a chute behind the wall for old supply drops. It leads to the forest." They ran. Fire alarms rang. Smoke filled the corridors. But they didn't stop. When they burst into the open air, the sun was just rising. soft golden light washed over the trees. And in Keanu's hand was the device. The proof. The names. The story. No one believed, until now. Asterisk. The truth doesn't burn. Sky above the forest was a soft mix of gold and gray. Smoke rose gently from behind the hills where the secret facility had been buried. As Keanu, Maria, Isla, and Dr. Dawson reached the tree line, they turned back for a moment. The place that had hidden so many stories was now collapsing in silence. No sirens, no helicopters, just a quiet vanishing. They stood still, catching their breath. Keanu looked at Dawson. How long were you trapped there? The doctor wiped soot from his face. 15 months. They kept me upstairs, just above the experiments. They didn't want me to forget, but they didn't want me to speak either. Maria said softly. And you let them believe you were broken. He nodded. It was the only way to stay alive. And to protect her, Isla clung to her father's hand. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. I remembered your voice, even when they tried to take it. Keanu knelt beside her. You were the bravest of us all. From behind the trees, two black vehicles appeared. Not fast, not threatening, just steady. Carter stepped out of one. He looked at Keanu and Maria. You're alive. Keanu nodded. And we've got everything. Maria handed him the device, the full data, names, logs, even images. Carter's face was serious, but his voice cracked slightly. You have no idea how long some of us waited for this. He turned to Dawson. Sir, we'll get you medical care, safety, everything you need. Dawson shook his head. I don't want safety. I want the world to know. They will, Carter promised, starting today. They drove straight to a secured intelligence station. There, Maria and the tech team decrypted the files. Hundreds of names appeared, children labeled as anomalies, some still alive, some erased, others marked unaccounted. Photos filled the monitors, surveillance logs, experiment results, even internal emails. One message stood out. Do not allow subject Isla to leave. She retains memory across wipes. If she escapes, the cycle breaks. Keanu stared at it for a long time. They knew she was different. Maria whispered. She wasn't just a subject. She was the key. Hours passed. The files were backed up, transferred to secure government oversight teams, and flagged for urgent investigation. But just when they thought the story was reaching its end, something else happened. A new alert popped up. Outside access detected. Attempt to breach firewall. Carter single quotes S voice rose. Trace it. Maria typed fast. It's not from a known location. The signal's bouncing. But it's not foreign. Keanu stepped closer. Then who is it? The screen blinked. A message appeared in plain text. You should have let it burn. Then another one. Truth has a cost. Are you willing to pay it? Carter called for full lockdown. Communications went silent. Satellite links cut off. But it was too late. The files had been leaked. Not by them. By someone else. Maria turned to Keanu. Someone inside the system released it. Someone who wants the world to know. Keanu stared at the screen. News sites were already picking it up. Secret memory lab. Exposed. Government accused of silencing children. Actor Keanu Reeves involved in discovery. Reporters flooded the gates of the building within an hour. Keanu stepped out alone. No bodyguards. No rehearsed statement. Just the truth. They held a press briefing under the open sky. Keanu spoke first. His voice was soft, but steady. I didn't come here to be a hero. I came here because a girl asked me one question. Do you believe people can disappear? And no one notices. And I realized, yes, they can, they do. But they shouldn't. Maria spoke next. I've worked behind screens my whole life. I thought silence kept me safe, but it only kept others invisible. Then Dr. Dawson stepped forward. He held up a photo of Isla when she was younger, smiling, bright-eyed. My daughter helped me remember who I was, not because she was special, but because she was loved. And when we remember who we love, we fight harder. That night, the world changed. Millions watched the press conference. Celebrities, leaders, teachers, and parents began demanding answers. Senators called for hearings. Newscasters choked on emotion as they read the leaked reports live. People started saying names. Not just Isla. but the others' names that had been locked in files for years. And then another surprise. Someone sent a message to Maria's private account, a short video, and it was one of the watchers. Silent. Still. And then, just before the end, it blinked and whispered, "Thank you." Maria cried for the first time in days. Keanu stood beside her. No words needed, just a hand on her shoulder. But they both knew something else. This wasn't over, because for every watcher set free, there were others still locked away, and somewhere deep in the system someone was preparing for the fallout. The price of remembering the days that followed were a whirlwind. News cameras camped outside every agency. Journalists fought for pieces of truth. Protesters stood with signs that read "Remember their names," and they were never lost. They were hidden. Keanu Reeves stayed out of the spotlight as much as he could. He never asked for attention. He didn't do interviews. Instead, he visited shelters that housed children from past classified programs. He met families who had never known what happened to their loved ones. And he sat with them not as a star, but as a listener. Maria, now working directly with a new oversight committee, led the digital investigation. She tracked every ghost file, every erased name. She found survivors. Some lived quietly in towns, not knowing they were ever part of anything strange. Others still had flashes in there. Dreams, towers, glass walls, drawings they couldn't explain. Drive. Dawson and Isla stayed under protection, but their story was now public. And even though it came with danger, they stood strong. Isla spoke at one school where a child raised his hand and said, "I think like you, but my mom says I'm just weird." Isla smiled and said gently, "Being different isn't a curse. Sometimes it's a sign you see things others miss." But even with the world beginning to change, there was one final thread left untied. The message Maria had received from the watcher, the whisper of thank you, had a hidden data tag. In it, when her team decrypted it, it revealed coordinates. They led to an abandoned site deep in the desert, off-grid, no roads, no lights, just silence. Keanu, Maria, Carter, and a small team flew out at night. They landed with flashlights and wind whipping through the sand. As they approached the coordinates, they saw a low structure barely above the ground. One entrance, sealed shut. Carter scanned it. "This isn't government design," he said. "It's older, private build." Maria whispered, "Maybe this is where it started." They forced open the door. Inside was cold. Metal. And empty. No lights. No people. Just rows of small, child-sized beds, each one marked with a nameplate. But something was different. No files. No cameras. Just drawings taped to the walls like before. But these were hopeful. Sun rises. Open doors. Faces with eyes. One page had a message written in a child's hand. "We're free now." Maria looked around. They were moved. Someone got them out. Keanu nodded slowly. Or they got out themselves. Suddenly, a small light flickered in the corner. They approached. It was a terminal. One button glowed. Maria tapped it. A voice played. It was Dr. Dawson's voice. Recorded years earlier. If this message is heard, it means one of them has remembered. It means one of them chose to trust. I don't know if the world will be ready, but if you're here, please protect them, not because they're powerful, but because they are still children, and they need us to remember who we are. The message ended. They stood in silence. Then Keanu spoke quietly. "This was never about secrets." Maria nodded. "It was about forgetting." And Carter added, "And now, it's about never forgetting again." Back in Washington, a new foundation was launched. Its name, Project Remember. Maria was appointed director. Drive. Dawson became its science advisor. And Keanu, he stayed behind the scenes, always present, always quiet. 1 year later, a memorial was built outside the facility that once held Isla and the others. It wasn't grand, just a circle of stones with names etched in each one, and at the center, a plaque that read, "To those who remembered, even when the world wanted them to forget." On the day of the opening, Keanu stood among the crowd, unnoticed by many. But not by Isla. She walked up to him, now taller, stronger. "They asked me what they should call this," she said. "This place, this story. What did you tell them?" Keanu asked. She smiled. "I told them, call it Keanu's door, because you opened it. He looked at her with soft eyes. You were the one who stepped through. They stood there, the wind moving gently round them. No more watchers. No more hiding. Just memory. And hope. Because once a truth is seen, it can never be unseen. And once a child is heard, the world has no excuse to stay silent.